Peace, everybody. How are y'all doing? I'm chilling here with my twin flame. Hi, Archangel Raphael. Now, anyway, I just wanted to discuss this video. Discuss in this video the intricacies and just basically the overall energy of Mercury retrograde right now. Now, when we think about Mercury, we're thinking about the planet that deals more so with communication, how you communicate, depending on where your Mercury is, depending on what aspects and what alignments it's making and whatever house it's in, that's going to basically dictate your own unique way of communicating with others, whether it's verbally, written language, or even body languages too, because Mercury can deal with that anyway. It's just communication, period. Even commerce. I don't know the exact words. I'll have to get back to y'all with that, but certain parts of the word Mercury trace back to words dealing with merchant and commerce. So this in a lot of different ways when you think about mail trucks, when you think about UPS and people delivering packages to your door, just receiving a package, period. Even think back in the old days when people used to receive mail via birds. So that's an air energy in and of itself. So receiving messages, relaying messages to other people, that is all Mercury and energy. Now, when we have Mercury going retrograde, Mercury slows down, stops, and has to backtrack. It's kind of like having to remember the course that it was on. Not only is it that, but it's like when Mercury pauses for a second, you're giving yourself time to think and be able to take in the energies of whatever you're receiving so that you don't end up, thinking before, doing things before thinking, before fully thinking things out and just go about and like bust your ass basically in any kind of situation, regardless. So, Mercury being retrograde in the sign of Scorpio, Scorpio deals with transformation, it deals with rebirth, it deals with death, not necessarily always a physical death, but death of a mentality, death of an emotion. Or in this case, since we have Mercury, this is death of certain thoughts. And basically kind of like reorganizing and basically just transforming your whole mindset, period. And then with it being retrograde and being in a fixed water sign, so when we think about water, we think about Mercury being in a water sign, period, is going to already like be a situation where Mercury is going to be a little more on the slower side because it's in water. And when you think about if you've ever swam before, when you move in water, you move slower than usual. So Mercury being in any kind of water setting is going to make it to where the thoughts are going to be a little more slower, but it's like you're able to absorb more. You're able to think about, especially people's emotional state. You're able to think about people's emotions whenever in a more like, put it this way, you're more open to receive the thoughts of other people's emotions, or you're able to hear out. This is kind of like that phrase, having a shoulder to cry on. These people are comfortable communicating their emotions to you because you having Mercury in a water sign already. You already give off this aura like people can already come to you and communicate with you. You could just have anybody. You don't even have to know somebody. You could be in line at the grocery store and then somebody just has it in their spirit to just, go about and just tell you some shit about their life, tell you their whole life story. It can play out in many different ways. Now, if it's fixed water, this is dealing with, you think about water that's in a container, or you think about an ice cube. It's like Mercury being enclosed in an ice cube. So it's like Mercury is able to sit and ponder on these thoughts, these deep emotional thoughts, and being able to sit back and says, everybody's locked. I'm about to say everybody's locked up. Everybody's locked in with this quarantine and everything. So now with people being, to themselves now, this Mercury retrograde is creating a situation where people are already by default going to be in heavy pondering, because this is Mercury, we're dealing with thinking. It's going to be in heavy pondering on deep shit. Scorpio deals with, and the 8th house deals with everything with deep depth and deepness. And, other energies will say this is the energy of other people's resources. Since the 2nd house is Taurus deals with, and the 2nd house deals with resources, but your own resource. This is why Taurus deals with security, because you're trying to keep your possessions secure to where people aren't just like all in your business and be like, hey, what's that? Hey, can I borrow that? Hey, can I have this, that, and the third? Like, but people with heavy 8th house energy, they don't mind actually giving out. Now that could be to a detriment. You don't want to, open your arms too much. You don't want to open your house too much to people. But with that shared resource, this is more like with a person you can trust. Like you share these resources with people you can trust, family members you trust, a partner that you trust, any of that. Just anybody that you can trust with shared resources. Now, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, this is going to be people are going to be heavily pondering on, and this is Mercury retrograde, so this is going backwards too. So we're going back to previous ways of thinking. So previous ways of thinking, it could be dealing with, spirituality, occult energies, because the 8th house and Scorpio deal with occult energies also. So you could be, if you like fell off of spirituality at one point, this Mercury retrograde, you may be feeling more energies of wanting to get back into this energy of wanting to think and ponder and do more research on your occult studies, if you were already doing this before. Or even vice versa, if you were like really into like spiritual systems, like religion, like Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, any of this stuff and everything, or whatever kind of like sector that you study and participate in, if you were away from that at one point, you may even ponder on wanting to get back into that. Now, it just depends on your energy too at the same time, but the whole theme is pondering and deep thought about occult shit, transformations of your own mind. Now, as far as like how this affects you personally, this will depend on what house Scorpio is in. So let me just break down a few examples of some house placements. If you have this going on in the 3rd house, now Mercury is at home in the 3rd house. So if you have Mercury going retrograde and Scorpio in the 3rd house, you're going to be pondering very heavily and to yourself in a very deep way about the people that you've been familiar with your whole life, because the 3rd house deals with your immediate surroundings. So like people in your neighborhood, people that you went to school with, friends that you've had grown up with your whole life, siblings, even parents. At the same time, these are just people that you're very familiar with and very close with. You don't even have to act really no kind of way around them, because you've been around them so much that just you could just be silent with these people, and there could be like a sense of comfortability and familiarity with these people, period. But you may be debating with yourself in your mind, like, do I even want to transform my whole situation to where I don't even want to be around these people? Or are you going to ponder on a situation to where you may want to, if you aren't getting along with people you're familiar with in the first place or your immediate surroundings, maybe this is the time to take the time to ponder on how you can transform that feeling and that thought for yourself. Now, if you have this going on in, let's say, the 7th house, if you have Mercury retrograde going on in Scorpio in the 7th house, then this means that you're going to be pondering and you're going to be transforming how you may spiritually feel about your relationships. You know what I'm saying? You may change up a whole new way of how you deal with relationships and everything like that. If you were kind of person who was polygamous and you want to be monogamous or whatever that fucking word is, then you're going to go back to that, or vice versa, or any kind of way, because Scorpio deals with the occult and a lot of and unconventionalism too, because Uranus is exalted in Scorpio in the 8th house, so that's like the highest point of unique and originality and everything like that. So it could play out in like unconventional ways, new, deep, intimate ways of dealing with relationships, even in a unique way too, also at the same time. Now, if you have this going on in the 8th house, like me and my twin flame, so this is like pondering on, and then also it depends on the degree. Like let's say for example, I have my Scorpio 9th house at 21 degrees. But just because it's at 21 degrees, if Mercury was going retrograde right now, it's going retrograde at like 13 or 14 degrees right now. So that's before the degree of my 9th house. So technically it's going on in the house before that, my 8th house, but there's still like, it can be both energies playing out simultaneously at the same time. But in this case, it'd be the 8th house and my twin flame too also, but I'm not going to get into her chart like that right now. So, we got to respect people's privacy. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one putting myself on the cross right now. But at the same time, with Mercury going on in the 8th house, this is going to be like, and it's in Scorpio too, so this is like double emphasis of that energy too. So this could be a situation where Mercury in the 8th house, you may be pondering on how you just want to like be deep in general, like how you even present your how you present your knowledge of the occult too. You may be pondering on ways on, if you weren't like comfortable communicating about occult studies, if you weren't comfortable communicating about astrology, if you weren't comfortable communicating about skeletons in your closet, this is going to be a time to where these things are going to be popping back up and everything. All these energies and everything, all these deep, because secrets also is ruled by the eighth house too. So certain secrets and everything may be popped up to the surface and everything like that. Or in a lot of different ways, it doesn't even have to necessarily be that. It could just be you pondering on how you want to even develop your spiritual system, period. Just period, because that was the whole archetype. That was one of the many aspects of the archetype of Mercury being retrograde in Scorpio, period, is pondering on your spirituality. So that whole energy will play out heavily, especially if you have this going on in the eighth house. And then if you have this, say, going on in like the 11th house, if you have Mercury retrograde going on in the 11th house, you're going to be pondering very deeply and very intimately with yourself on the people you want to associate yourself with, and whether or not you may be in heavy, because astrology plays down in like so many different intricate levels, even just based upon your own mundane life and everything like that. Not saying y'all's life is mundane, but just like the little things that aren't necessarily deep, but just like little regular things that we do in life. For example, like you may be in deep heavy thought, because we're dealing with Mercury, which is thinking, Scorpio, which is deepness. You may be in deep thought about the 11th house, which one of the aspects of the 11th house is technology. So you may be in deep heavy thought about wanting to buy a certain computer and everything, and you may be in deep heavy thought about certain intricacies of it, like RAM, gigabytes, or storage and everything like that. And as soon as I said that, it says that this shit's about to run out of memory, so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up. I love y'all, soul group, and more videos coming on along the way. And don't forget to email me at betheall1112@gmail.com for any kind of readings. And I do have a website, and I need to put the link in the description. Actually, I'm going to make a whole separate video even just talking about my website and just letting y'all know basically the ins and outs of it and everything. So I'm gonna catch y'all later, and peace.